Buddy. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Welcome to Work at Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining back. So, first of all, I'm so excited to introduce Bryan Casella. I've been watching his YouTube for quite a while right now. And Bryan, last week we had Loida Velasquez and Chasten Miles. And I didn't realize that you and Loida were friends until I started popping up on videos. So that's so cool.
Yeah, we worked together for a long time, for many,
Yeah.
many years.
That's awesome. So I wanted just to give a little introduction to Bryan, but Bryan, I'm going to really let you run the show because everything I've seen with you, I've been so impressed with, and I think it'll be really helpful for our group of agents. So we're a growing group of other agents, team leaders, etc. And you definitely drop a lot of nuggets that I think would be really beneficial for agents this year. So Bryan started out as a professional basketball player, which I thought was a cool little factoid. And then later he got into the real estate world probably about 9, 10 years ago at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was the summer of 2013, so it's been a little over 10 years.
Yeah. And so through that time, not only did he discover his voice, and he's a huge coach, but Inman ranked him actually the #1 real estate educator in LA. He's now in Miami, Florida, though, where I used to live. And he is the founder and CEO of Team BC. He has like thousands and thousands of coaching training hours, and he's very highly sought after for his speaking. So I'm going to let him kind of take over because our agents, Bryan, want to hear from you on how to own it in 2024. What do you recommend? And stay on. I'm going to share all of his cool links so you can actually look not only through his free resources, but also his coaching and training programs that he has available as well. So let me go ahead and make you the head speaker so everyone can see you, and we'll go ahead and let you start.
Appreciate that, Jennifer. How long do you want me to go?
So you can go 30, 35 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining. After that long introduction, right, where do I take it from there? I've been, in the game for a while, and I've done a lot in regards to, building the team, doing the traditional stuff, and I think I've done a pretty interesting kind of mesh of the old school and the new school, right? And I really want to talk to you guys today about that because, moving forward into 2024 and the 10 years of experience that I've had in the industry now, I really feel like there's always like this tug of war. People are trying to figure out, should I do this? Should I do that? And I kind of just want to give you guys some basic stuff today that I think will help you kind of build your business, right? So one of the things that I've really built my team on, my success and the people around me, my students, is we have to make sure, especially this year, that your skills are top notch, right? I've worked with a lot of top agents. I remember coming up in the game 10 years ago and talking to a lot of the agents who were doing really well. And what I noticed is all of them had a very strong skill set. And what I mean by skill set is we deal with people in this business, right? Whether you do stuff online, you cold call, you do open houses, you door knock, you do traditional marketing, whatever it is, at the end of the day, you're going to be dealing with a customer face to face, right? You're dealing with a buyer, a seller, or an investor, or a developer, or something like that. So when I started shadowing these guys and coming up in the game, I'm like, man, when it comes to the customer interaction, these guys are incredible. They know exactly what to say. They're silky smooth. They're calm under pressure. Their presentation is just seamless. Everything rolls off their tongue. There's nothing awkward about them. Everything is just really nice. Like it's almost like you're watching a movie. Everything is almost like scripted and perfect. So I really took that to heart when I started out, and I made sure that from day one, I really spent time daily building my skills. And that's kind of the first question I have for you guys is how much time are you spending every single day improving your dialogues and your interactions with customers? Because that trickles from an interaction with them to how you send emails, to how you follow up with them, to text messages that you send, if you send them little snippets of videos. That's all predicated on your communication skill, right? And the higher that threshold is, right? Like think of like you're turning a dial. The higher my communication skills are, the better my social media content's going to be, the better my presentations are going to be. Because ultimately, right, if we're on the phone or we're meeting with somebody or we're having a conversation, the whole goal for us is to either capture them as a lead or set an appointment, right? And a lot of times I find that agents struggle to have the dialogues and that smooth kind of, flow to get somebody to agree to meet with them, whether that day, next week, or next month. And as obvious as that sounds, because of course, when I say that, everybody's like, duh, we're supposed to work on that. When I look at agents and I have conversations with them, I see that on a daily basis, they're not working on their skills. Like they're not making it a priority. They're more concerned with working on their website, right? Or creating a video instead of saying, hey, at the end of the day, what is my money maker is when I meet with a client and getting them to sign on the dotted line. That's the number one income producing activity for you as an agent. All the stuff that we do, lead capturing, prospecting, it's to set up that meeting and get them to agree to work with us and sign a contract. So that's something I would say that you guys have to put at the top of your list. So with each other, with other people, make sure that you guys are, I would say, spending at least an hour a day doing role play scenarios, right? Where you guys are doing scripting, where you're doing your presentations to make sure that from a dialogue standpoint, you know your stuff. Because what I noticed in my personal experience is when I did that a lot and I knew all my scripts and objection handlers and I just knew everything, like to the point where I would tell people, test me, just say something, give me an objection, say anything. And I would have an answer that I could just rifle off. Once I had that established as an agent relatively quickly in a couple of months, my confidence went through the roof. I wanted to go out and talk to more people. I wanted to follow up with my clients, and that fear or hesitation went away because I know exactly what to say. I remember I was like 3 or 4 months into the business and I was door knocking expireds early in the morning. And I came across this lady who had an urgent need to sell. And at the time, my confidence got bumped up so high, I started carrying blank contracts in my car. Because this is back in the day, guys, before the iPads and all that. This is 10 years ago, right? So and I recommend this for every agent, carry blank buyer and seller contracts in your car, or at least have an iPad so you can pull it up, right? And I told the lady, I was like, man, it sounds like you really need to get this thing moving. Look, do you have 10 minutes right now for us to meet real quick? She's like, yeah, I got to go to work in 30. I said, perfect. Went to my car and grabbed the contract, went in, got the listing signed. And I'm like 4 months into the business with an expired, right? Now, part of that is me studying the market and really being an expert. But the other part is, man, I know my presentations and my dialogues to the T, that so well that she never questioned that I was new. And keep in mind, I was borrowing my dad's suit. I had braces at the time. People probably thought I was like 21 10 years ago, right? Like they thought I was a baby probably. But I had the know-how and I had the confidence to go in there, not because I had a track record, but because I knew my dialogues inside and out. To where if you listen to me speak, none of you would have said, oh, this kid's new. You would have thought I was like an established agent. And that to me is one of the easiest ways for people to separate themselves and already have a leg up in the business is you move and sound as if you're experienced, because that comes across in everything that you guys do. If you shoot a video, right? If you meet with somebody, everything about you screams, okay, this person knows what they're doing, right? And ultimately that's going to give you guys a better chance to do well. And when we look at 2024 and kind of the end of last year, what have we seen? We've seen a shift in the media, the news, and everything that talks about real estate. 2 or 3 years ago, it was buy now, sell now, the market is hot. Now what are you hearing? Interest rates are high, market's gonna crash. You're hearing all this negativity and all this like speculation that works against us, right? So before, I could have given I have 2 Sphinx cats, those hairless cats. I could have dressed them up and they could have sold real estate 2 years ago because everybody was all about it, right? The market's good, the news is good. Yeah, let's do something, right? Now it's a little different. Now you guys have to really consult your clients, tackle all of this information and negative media, and still get them to commit. That's going to require a higher level of skill, right? And it's going to really require you to step into that role. And this is why we're seeing so many agents struggle. I don't know if you guys saw that article by Inman News that I talked about, but it's public. I think it was released about 2 weeks ago. It said that 49% of agents sold 1 or 0 houses in 2023. 49%. That's half of the industry, right? Now, my team, we had like a record year. But when I look at the average agent, I'm like, man, that's sad. 49%. That's half the industry. It's insane. right? Because we already know the productivity of the average agent is low, right? 3 or 4 deals a year, something like that. But to have half of them only sell 1 or 0, I'd be interested to go in further to that metric and see how many, right, was 1 compared to 0, because that's insane, right? But when I meet with these average agents and talk to them all the time through my social media, they tell me a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with their ability to go out there and get business, right? Let me give you another example. You guys know there's all these Facebook groups out there for real estate, right? Like, oh, real estate mastermind, real estate this, real estate. Now, I left them a long time ago because I was tired of the drama and the cattiness and a lot of the stuff in there, because unless you guys are in a group where maybe it's like this, where you're kind of like a family, a lot of those groups I don't like because it's sensational content, right? Like they'll release an article, oh, this company's going to come out and get rid of realtors, right? Like we're doomed. And then boom, everybody comes in the comment section and complains. And I was like, I don't have time for that, right? So somebody added me to a group. I didn't accept it, but when they do that, you can preview it, right? Like every time you go on your Facebook, it'll show you, hey, here's a post that somebody made in this group, even though you haven't joined yet, right? And somebody asked a question. They said, what were your top lead sources last year, or what are some lead sources you guys would recommend? And as agents, we know lead sources are what? Expired, for sale by owners, sphere of influence, just listed, just sold, absentee owners, probate. Like those are lead sources that we would go after and hunt to get business. I kid you not, every single person who commented on that thread, all they did was list companies that sell you leads. Zillow, Realtor.com, right? This and that. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, is that where the industry is? So when I see that and I see that article that half the agents didn't sell 1 house or only 1, I'm like, that makes sense. If you think as the average agent that you have to go to a company to sell you leads as a way for you to build your business, right? Because you're going to build your business off something that is unreliable, costs a lot of money, and that somebody's not ready for yet. Because you need to have the systems in place, you need to have the marketing budget, right? And you need to have something established for you to be able to successfully pay and market to get leads now, right? I always tell agents, you need to build your business on that foundation that's solid, right? Prospecting based, right? So I'm bringing this up because I think more than ever now, getting back to your roots as an agent and what that means is one of the most important things. Like the theme for us and Team BC this year is simplicity. We want to keep things simple, right? We want to do stuff on social media for sure. Like as an example, and I'd recommend all of you do this. One thing I'm pushing my team, and I have for a while, but especially this year, is wherever you're at locally, right? Like let's say Miami, Los Angeles, Tacoma, Washington, Kansas City, Missouri, wherever you're at, you need to build your local star power as an agent. And what I mean by that from a social media standpoint are these things. Every single one of you, right, should be interviewing and connecting with new businesses at least once or twice a week in your local area. Right. So one recommendation I give a lot of agents is start with businesses and people locally that know you, right? Let's say you have your hairstylist. Let's say you have, if you're a man, you have your barber, people in the community that already know you that run a business. Go to them and ask them and say, hey, right, I'll pretend it's me. Hey, Bob, look, I've been coming to your store here for a long time. I've been a long time customer. I love what you do here, right? Would it be okay if I did some free marketing for you guys? For my social media, just to help you promote your business? Now, I'll tell you guys, I've asked that to probably 1,000 businesses at this point. No one's ever said no to that, right? And they're like, sure, right? So what I do is I say, look, if you have time now, great. If not, what I'd like to do is schedule a time where I can just interview you for 2 or 3 minutes and talk to you about, your business, why you're here, what you do, what makes you different, right? And if it'll make you feel more comfortable before we do it, I'll email you or text you the questions so you can see what they are and you can get ready and feel more comfortable. Cool? Now, very rarely do they agree to do it on the spot, right? They'll say, okay, let's schedule it for next week. Now, what you can do there already is capture their information. They can get their cell phone, their email, and all the information I need to have a business owner's contact information, but you can now also add them to your database, right? So now I'm going to put high octane type of people into my database. So when I come back, those same questions I gave you guys, I interview them, right? And I say, hey, tell us about your business. Oh yeah, I've been here 20 years, right? I love this city. And we moved here from, Atlanta, Georgia, and blah, blah, blah. Great. Why did you choose to open up a restaurant here? Well, we've always been passionate about food and, right? Ask them basic questions. It doesn't really matter right? All you want to do is feature them and ask them about why they do what they do and why they like their business and why somebody should come there, right? If they're a restaurant or a store or whatever, right? Now, if you do this once or twice a week, after a while, you start building brand power because not only can you share that with your database, you can also use this, guys, to create content locally and tag your cities and your areas. Because when I started in the Los Angeles area in California, my first 2 or 3 years, all the content I did was hyper local, right? I think agents want to be like global superstars, when in reality, you need to focus hyper locally because you'll dominate Google and the airwaves there, right? And your name starts getting attached and associated with the areas that you work in, which is what you want, right? Because the buzz will start, meaning all these businesses are going to know that you're doing that and they're going to be appreciative, especially if they're smaller, medium-sized businesses. And after I'm done with that interview, I say, look, Bob, I really appreciate you letting me do this. Are you friends with anybody else here, or do you know any other businesses that would love to do this? Because I really want to put Miami on the map. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. Like, yeah, it's going to help me in my business, but I love featuring the small and medium-sized business owners because that's what I am too, and I want to support you guys. And they'll give you a bunch of recommendations, right? Now, if you fast forward and you do this over a year, you'll probably meet with 50, 100, 150 businesses, right? And think of the leverage you have now. You see, not only can I invite them, like if I do let's say I do a celebration or like a party for my sphere of influence, which I recommend you guys do an event like that at least once a year, where I get my database and my sphere of influence and I do an event. I call my vendors to have them host the event with me and split the cost and sponsor it, right? We rent out a restaurant, we go to a park, we have some kind of theme for the event, and I get all my past clients and all my sphere of influence together, right? You'll build a better relationship with them and you'll definitely get referrals from it. And you involve your vendors. Now, the cool thing about doing something like that, or a home buying seminar, a home selling seminar, is these business owners that I'm meeting, not only can you potentially ask them to allow you to host the event at their location, you can invite them to these things, guys. This is how you build connections with them, right? So whenever I do a home buying, home selling seminar, whenever I do a sphere of influence event, guess what? I invite the business owners, right? And they come and they love it, right? Additionally, for me, I have coaching events that I do now, and these business owners that I've met, I've invited them and had them come speak at my events, right? Now I'm building connections with them. When I have friends or clients, let's say I have like high ticket clients come in town, you know what I like to do? Some of these businesses that I've met, I know the owners, we'll go to a restaurant, the owner will sit down with us and eat with us when I bring somebody from out of town. Now think about the unique experience you can create for somebody if you do that, right? And I've done that for friends, clients, and everybody because I know them, right? This is what I call getting the key to a city, right? Because in addition to this, if we're going to keep talking social media for a second, every single one of you needs to do content about where you're at. So as an example, let me use Miami, right? 3 things, right? I'm giving you video titles here, right? 3 things most people don't know about Miami, Florida. Boom, right? And in every video, hey, what's up, guys? My name is Bryan. I'm your local real estate expert here in the city of Miami in Florida. Here's 3 things you probably don't know about Miami. And I do a video, right? Now I'm attaching my name to the location and I'm giving some information, right? Here's another one. 3 reasons everyone should move to Miami in 2024. Another one, 3 reasons or 3 things I wouldn't recommend you do in Miami, right? Here's another one. Here's 3 reasons you shouldn't move to Miami. Here's what $500,000 can buy you in Miami, Florida in 2024. Right? I can go on and on, guys. Now, the point of this is hyper local. I want to attach my name to where I'm at. And all these types of videos, and I'm sure some of you are thinking like, duh, or that's silly, or people have made it. Yeah, but you haven't made it. And the reality is, you think a lot of people are doing that, they're not. And the people that typically do make those types of videos aren't in real estate. There are people who want to build their YouTube channel, or they want to be just this person who's like a celebrity online. They're not specifically real estate agents. The beauty of that too is if you do that and you incorporate some property tours of your listings or other listings in your area, you can now brand yourself as that person who can kind of be like a relocation specialist as well, right? So now what I want is at the local business level, the online level, right? The real estate level, my name is being attached to my city from a social media and like a ground level business standpoint. I'm building that star power. Because when I have my agents do this in conjunction with prospecting and doing the traditional stuff, they built up a really good local reputation to where like now when they're going out door knocking and calling and doing open houses or going to the gym, people recognize them. Like that was happening to me a lot back in LA, and it even happens here in Miami. I'll be at the gym and like every other day somebody comes up to me or talks to me that they follow me or know me from online, right? It's happened to me in the street, at the beach, everywhere. And again, I'm not a household name here, but I've done enough, right, at the local level and also the online level for people to make that connection, right? Because it's all about supercharging your reputation, guys. Because imagine you do a listing appointment with somebody who now has seen you at the local business level and knows your online reputation and how much attention you're bringing to the city, right? Compared to doing a listing appointment where they have no idea who you are. There's a clear difference there. When I do a listing appointment with somebody who knows my reputation and has an idea of who I am, it's infinitely easier. Infinitely easier, right? Cool. So we talked a little bit about skills. We talked about some of the stuff on social media, right? Another thing I would recommend you guys do this year is start collaborating a lot more with local agents in your market, right? Because not only is this going to help you from a social media standpoint, I think it's really great for establishing connections with the right agents. And I'm not saying you collab with every single agent. Collab with the good ones. Ask them to be involved in your events. Ask them to do something with you and go live on Instagram and say, hey, Jim, you're one of the top agents here. Would you mind or would you be open to doing a Instagram live with me where we talk about some of the shifts that you've been seeing in the market for the last 3 months from your perspective? Because you guys are doing a lot of deals. They're going to say yes. They're going to say yes, right? People fail to realize sometimes, guys, that you can be accredited. I call it being accredited by association. So if I'm not a top dog yet, but I'm interviewing and rubbing shoulders with the top people, it's going to help, again, in the public eye, raise my level, raise my value, right? And they're going to appreciate it too. Because I noticed whenever I want to collab with some of these bigger teams or names, whether they're big or medium, it doesn't matter, right? But they want to do it. Very rarely am I told no. Like very rarely. If I ask 20 or 30 agents, maybe one will tell me no. They're always open to do stuff online. And if anything, and if they do say no, it's because they're embarrassed to be behind the camera or they're uncomfortable being on social media, believe it or not. And many times they say, you know what? I'm glad you asked me, Bryan, because I really need to get online and do this social media thing. So thank you for doing this, right? I want to create a buzz, right? I want to collaborate with people because you guys never know where that's going to go. I've done that before, again, here in Miami and also in LA. And man, I'll create great relationships with these people. I have these teams contacting me all the time. Hey, all of a sudden now we have a connection and they're like, do you have any listings coming up in this area? Because we got like 6 buyers who are ready to look, right? Or, hey, I just want to let you know, Bryan, I have these 2 listings coming up in this area. So if you have any clients, let me know because I'm not going to go live for 2 weeks. You see, now I have an insider connection that might give my clients opportunities that typically I wouldn't have unless I had that connection with that team or that agent, right? Did you raise your hand, Jenifer? I don't know if that was on purpose.
It's the teacher in me. I did have a question because see, when I talk to even my team and other teams and, agents, they'll talk about like making content on videos and social media, but they are more scared about the whole editing and having to do it all perfect. But I've watched enough too of your videos and my content's the same way. Sometimes I have videos that are edited and professionally done and others are just off the cuff and, they are just real. So when you go into these businesses, do you tend to like that more natural, let's get the phone set up, let's interview, let's tour and keep it simple? Or do you think that there's more equipment that agents should be focusing on when they do this at a high level?
I would say keep it simple, right? Later on, like now it's different for me, right? I have an assistant like Annabelle who's here, like doing videos and taking pictures. I have like my full-time video editor too. When you get to that level, absolutely, you can take the whole production with you and make it fancy. But in the beginning, guys, I was literally shooting my videos with those clients like this, like selfie mode, right? And I said, we're going to keep it simple. And then when I would send them the video to post, they're like, oh wow, that actually came out really good, because they're in their mind, maybe they thought you doing the phone was going to be some kind of ghetto thing, right? But keep it simple. Like what I'm noticing too, especially on the airwaves and Instagram and YouTube, is people are kind of coming full circle and going back to that like raw, natural, transparent type of content versus the hyper edited clickbait crazy stuff that you see going on online. Because to this day, everybody, even though I created a new YouTube channel, my old one, all the top videos that get the most views are the most simple ones where I had my phone propped up on the wall and I was just talking to the phone, compared to the ones that are edited. All those videos, the simple ones are the ones that have 300, 500,000 views, a million views, 50,000 views. Like all the high ones are not professional. You can even see some of the videos on my channel that have over 1 million views and the camera work is terrible. Like we're in a car and the camera's just bouncing everywhere because we don't have one of those stabilizers. But nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. So to me, simple is better, because then the agent will do it. I didn't start editing or doing audio equipment and lights and all that probably for 3 or 4 years on YouTube. And by that time, I already had over 100,000 subscribers, right? But the effectiveness of what you guys do on an agent level, like with the businesses and just attracting clientele, keep it simple, right? It doesn't have to be fancy. I think we get blinded by like watching the news and seeing the fanciness of the set and all that. And that's great. That's TV. But let's be practical here, right? People really connect with an agent who's, down to earth and has their boots to the ground. I get more response and engagement from simple stuff than I do from fancy stuff, 7 days a week, 100%. Great question.
Somebody asked a question in the chat. Jenifer, can you read that?
Sam, if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question.
So I'm just starting to get into remarketing on street text. And I uploaded all of our local agents to exclude them from my ads. So with the collaboration piece, would you not do that?
Can you repeat that one more time?
So would you, like, if you run local social media ads, would you exclude the other agents from your area from seeing your content?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I wouldn't. Is there, okay, so I'll ask this, right? Is there like a fear, or are you doing that because you think they're going to steal your idea, or what's the thinking
Yeah,
behind?
I don't want them to copy me.
Okay. Look, whenever somebody copies somebody, guys, is it obvious who's copying who?
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Of course, right? And if anything, I would be flattered, right? And what I do with my competition a lot of times, because I'm glad you brought that up, Sam, I get asked, I'll get DMs today. Hey man, like you've given away so much stuff. Aren't you like afraid people are going to copy you, or your client, people are going to come in your market and steal? I'm like, no, dude, because the reality is this. Reality is this. Number one, what we said, everybody agrees. People know who the original one is, number one. Number two, the odds of somebody actually copying you, Sam, 100%, and then executing at your level is like 1 in a gazillion. Right? 1 in a gazillion. Seriously. And even if they did, it wouldn't be as effective as yours because you're the original.
And most
Right?
people don't take action. You could go to every training you want. Most of the people in that room, they're motivated in that moment, then they don't do anything. And honestly, from an agent attraction, see, I agree with Bryan that way. I like other agents to see. I like to give away free resources because they can copy all day long. They're not me. It's my personality that wins my clients. And I've never had a fear of that either, but I would let everybody see everything.
Go on YouTube, guys. Right? Like, I know I'm not on my original channel anymore, but I guarantee you, even though I don't know most of them now, any major real estate influencer, or maybe guys that you know, or women, men, if you look at their videos, probably they're the most popular. I guarantee you the vast majority of them have gone to my old videos and copied titles. I would put my life on it. Now, I'm not mad at it, because that's just the nature of this. People are looking at what works and they replicate it. That's all that is, right? So imagine, right, Sam, if I'm going to I'm going to block this person from seeing my content, right? It would drive me nuts because that's going to happen anyway, because that's just the way it is, right? Now, the beauty of it though is it will never be as effective as yours, and yours is always the original and the authentic one, and people know it, right? Like on the street level, people are going to talk about it, and they would know that somebody copied you, and it's not going to be as effective for sure.
Thank you.
You guys have any other questions? I think, unless I'm wrong, Jenifer, it's been about 30 minutes.
It
Yeah.
has been, but gosh, I feel like we just skimmed this.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do right now for everybody is I am going to be sharing Bryan's links, but seriously, not only should you take a look at this, he does coaching at a high level. He also has tons of content available for viewing on YouTube, his Instagram. But if you are thinking about getting into having a mentor or a coach, which is very important, especially in this market right now, Bryan is a gold mine of information. And part of what I like is if you watch his videos, I mean, he tells it like it is. Like, stop complaining about this. It's your fault. You need to take accountability. And like, he goes through the whole thing, but it's so true. Like, you know, you could watch webinars, and I'm so glad everybody is here. But then the next step is, okay, now what are you going to do? You had a video, Bryan, about agent previews. It's one of the huge things I tell to my team. If you're not busy, you should be making yourself busy. You should know the market. You should have an agent preview. You go on a field trip. You could have 3 weeks of social media material from one agent preview. But beyond that, you're practicing your skills. You're getting involved. You're seeing the homes. And it does make a huge difference. So I just love your approach. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to allow anybody that has any questions to ask. His links are now shared in the chat. I will share them again in our group, but if you have questions, now's the time.
Yeah, there's no fluff with me, that's for sure.
I like it. And I like those wild suits you wear.
What's funny is, like, well, I always tell people, regardless of what you do, especially when it comes to content, like on YouTube and social media, whenever you look at the comment section on any video, very rarely is the bulk of the comments about the material in the video. It's always like the suit or what they don't like about the person. It's just funny how the internet is, but it blows my mind that I could do a tour on like a $15 million home, and the majority of the comments aren't about the house, it's about my suit. I'm like, come on, guys, like look at this, you know, 20,000 square foot castle that I just showed you, and 80% of the comments are about my suit. And I'm not even in the video that much. That's the funny part.
But you know what? They remember you. And that's another thing that I found watching you. I've seen that you've gone through censorship battles and taking videos down.
God.
And you were like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. What I really like is I think a lot of agents, especially newer ones, they haven't developed that personality to feel confident in who they are and what their approach is. And so you try to fit in this form, and that's when it's harder. Like, I had a mentor that honestly was the best mentor I could have asked for. However, his listing style, his presentation was suit, tie, briefcase, computer listing presentation. And I felt so intimidated trying to copy this thing. And I realized I'm not that girl. Like, I'm going to come in, ask if we can have a cup of coffee. I'm going to get all of that stuff out of the way before I come. And then we're going to talk the dirt about the house. And when I found my own style, that is when I started attracting business. And that's exactly what I see that you've done. If people don't like what you have to say, then they're not your tribe, you know?
Yep. 100%.
Well, thank you so much. If there's no more questions, I'm going to let you go, Bryan. Please.
I have a question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask you, Bryan, when you talk about like role playing and practicing the dialogue, what do you use? Do you have specific scripts that you've created, or do you use like Tom Ferry? Like, what is your approach on that?
Yeah, you know, like I've noticed over the years, most of the scripts are the same. Like if any of you want to like email me or contact me, I can give you, I created a script book for Team BC University, like a really basic bare bones one. I can send all of you if you want. But I would just say, generally speaking, find a script book or somebody you resonate with, get that script book, and whatever you choose, just master that. Because if you start pulling from 100 different people, and I call it like creating a monster where you want to take pieces from me and somebody else, it just becomes too complicated. So I would say pick one system or one set of scripts, memorize that, master that, and then later, if you want, you can kind of, you know, go a different way. But I would say just whatever you chose, master that and just keep it simple, because then it'll be easy for you to know what to say and follow a particular methodology, you know?
May I share your email in the chat? Do you mind?
Yeah, it's just bryancasella25@gmail. Just that's my personal email. That way I know it's coming from you guys, and then I can just later on today, probably when I get home, I'll shoot you guys that script if you need it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bryan. This was really a pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day.
No, thank you guys. Yeah, if you need anything else, just let me know.
Will do. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
for joining. See you next week.
See ya.